What's going on? I have a question. What are you afraid of? By the way, it's Diane. You know who I am. You wouldn't be here if you didn't know who I am. Unless friends sent you, and then you don't know who I am. But if you hang out, you'll know who I am. So therefore, I don't need to worry about whether or not you know who I am. Um, there's been a lot of things that I've been afraid of in my career. And ironically, some of the things I was most afraid of have actually happened. Um, and yet I'm okay. I'm okay. Um, because I was not of those things, but still I had fear. Afraid of being broke. Okay. Petrified, afraid of being broke. I no longer have that fear. Go through ups and downs, things change. But I don't have that fear, maybe because over time I've become more comfortable with who I am. And um, that's not a reflection of who I am, but I was afraid of being broke, which was what got me into the business in the first place. Then I was afraid of making too much, because if I made too much, people that I loved might not love me. What if they found out? What if this? What if that? What if people left me? So I was afraid of that. I was afraid of, by the way, I'm still afraid of a lot of things. One of the big things I was afraid of is that my colleagues wouldn't respect me. See, it's pulling up emotions. So that means it's still sitting there a little bit. I have some interesting ways of doing things that are out of the mainstream. And I have spent a lot of time trying and won a lot of contests and done a lot of stuff like that, trying to get people to see me. I wanted my colleagues to approve of me. I wanted them to go, she's all right, or she's got chops. And the irony is that when I first met a good friend of mine who shall remain nameless, you know who you are. I told them I had that fear, and they went and surveyed a bunch of people and found out that the fear was my delusion. It was never real. But the reason why I'm sharing some of this with you, and I know there's a couple of you here, feel free to say hi if you want to, or feel free to be a voyeur if you want to. I'm doing these for me. I've committed to doing them, so I'm doing them for me. And if they help you, I'm thrilled. Hi, Tracy. I want you to ask yourself, like I ask myself all the time, what am I afraid of? If I go out and do that, like if I build this thing, guys, I've been wanting to build a thing for a long time. And I've been afraid. Not supposed to say that in public. You're not supposed to tell anybody that. You're supposed to be superhuman. We're supposed to have a cape and tights. But I've had a fear of, what if I screw this thing up? Right? What if I screw this thing up? And then the second thing, that the corresponding fear is, if I hire someone to help me, what if they see how all over the map I am? What if they see my mess? Same thing with cleaning ladies and stuff like that. It's like I always worry about whether the cleaning lady will see that I'm messy, right? What if I hire someone and they see that my mind is messy? What if they see that I have socks on the virtual floor of my brain? What if they see the reality of all of this? What if they do? And isn't that ironic? Because it's I remember being afraid when I was first training myself how to think prosperously. There were stores I was afraid of going into, because my mom always said, those stores are not for people like us. And so I would go into, in the beginning, it was just going into a higher end store in the mall. And later it was Fendi and Gucci, and walking in and looking around and training myself to be in those environments. Still haven't bought a $4,000 bag. I think the most expensive bag I have is like a $600 bag, which I still think is ridiculous. It's just not my bag. I have an $80,000 car lease that was given to me. I'll be returning it soon. There's no way I'm buying another one. It's just not my thing. But anyway, I remember being afraid of the salesperson because they would judge me or they would know the truth. And they were making like $10 an hour at the time. And I was sitting there in a store, that has $5,000 handbags. And I was worried that the person and I'm not judging the person, they're wonderful, I'm sure. But I was sitting there very worried that the person that was the salesperson in the store would look down on me or judge me. It's the same fear. It's this discomfort in ourselves. And our job, the discomfort with my colleagues was wanting to see that the thing I do works. Or to prove myself, or to get them to pat me on the head, or all those things. And our job is to figure out, what is it that I'm afraid of? And then I don't know if you guys watch This Is Us. I saw Ray Higdon, he put a post the other day that Jessica's making him watch. It's a great show. And in the last episode of the season, Kate was getting married, and the two brothers were playing a game that actually having a mental block on the name of one of the brothers, both of the brothers. See, I watch a show, but I don't pay attention. The game is, what's the worst case scenario? And just spitting out, what's the worst thing that could happen? What's the worst thing that can happen? And becoming like cognizant of that thing that's rolling around inside of you. And I've been playing this game for years, and I want to teach you how to play, because if I prospect this person, what's the worst thing that can happen? Because we're imagining the boogeyman and the dragon lady and the this and that. If I write this letter, what's the worst thing that can happen? If I do this very video right now and reveal myself to people, what's the worst thing that can happen? People won't listen to me anymore. People won't buy from me anymore. People will walk away from me. People won't love me anymore. Those are the worst things that can happen. And the magic is when we get to the place where we can be okay with that happening and know it's not really of us. This industry is a mind game. It's a conviction game. It's a self-love game. And I watch folks dancing around the edges of it because they're so attracted, like, moths to a light. But they haven't quite made the decision to really go get what they want, because they haven't become comfortable with what's the worst case scenario. One of the worst things that could have happened in my mind if I became ultra successful is that people that I loved would leave. And it did happen. And yet I also figured out that there were a whole bunch of people that loved me that didn't leave. And there's a whole bunch of people that I never knew were out there that showed up. And there's a whole bunch of neat new stuff to do. And there's new horizons. So it was staring down the fear and being open to what stood beyond it that changed my life. So what is it that you're afraid of? Start at a very small scale. Start with training yourself how to talk to people. I was so afraid from the time I was a little girl that people wouldn't like me. So I made it my business to talk to people. It's insane, right? I talk to people all day long. I just don't try to sell them anything. And because that was the hard part. When I used to try to sell them something, I was beside myself, hyperventilating. I recently had an episode in a project that I'm involved in, that I'm intricately involved in, where they really put me in a position where they wanted me to really sell, like sell. And I basically lost it because I was so uncomfortable. I didn't like it. When you put me back into the place where I'm serving people, super happy, super happy. So you got to just kind of examine, what am I afraid of? What's the worst thing that can happen? What's the best thing that can happen? See, we forget to look at that. What's the best thing that can happen? Not the dream fantasy, but what really could happen if I prospect this person today, or if I write this letter today, I could tilt somebody's world. What's the worst thing that can happen if I make this video? You could be like, ew, what is she, I call this series my midlife marketing crisis. So, some people are going to walk away from me. What's the best thing that can happen? I really make a difference for someone today. I really help them examine the thing that they're afraid of. I really help them get more comfortable with themselves, or maybe I give them a strategy or something. And if I tilt one person's world, would that be worth it? To me, it is. I'm starting to value more the stories. Jim Rohn always said that. It's the stories that you create. The money is nice, but it's the stories that you create. And every day, I don't know what it is lately, maybe because I've shifted, I'm getting a lot of letters from people. Where I'm finding out that people are, telling me success stories that they never told me from things I taught them. I'm hearing from people from the past. I'm getting, just love notes and people reaching out. And again, maybe my energy says that I would need some of that, and they're reaching out to me to give me some of that back. Or maybe it's just that all these things have been sitting here and I wasn't, I just didn't know they were happening. But I know that changing lives, to me, it's been my calling since the beginning. And that sounds so like, I want to change lives. I want to help people. It's different. It's different. So what's your calling? Where are you going? Your calling is not to sell shampoo. Okay. Your calling is not to sell vitamins. That's not your calling. It never was. You were attracted to this industry because, hello, Javi, you were attracted to this industry because there was something inside of you and you saw this industry as a vehicle to express the thing inside of you. Are you closer to doing that thing? Maybe it's because my birthday's next week. Maybe that's, I'm being weird because now I'm in my 50s. I don't know what it is with me lately, but it feels good. So I'm going to keep doing it. It feels good to just talk and not try to be this thing, hi, welcome to my video. I'm Diane Hockman, and today I'm going to teach you all the magical secrets to getting rich in 30 minutes or less, while you're screwing in a light bulb. It just feels good to be able to be, and to not be afraid of being anymore. I don't know. Anyway, that's my ramble. Just think about, what are you afraid of? And if you can identify it, and then you can look at the worst thing that could happen, and you could stare it in the face and know that your destiny lies beyond that, you're going to do pretty damn great. Let me know if I can cheer for you. Let me know if I can cheer for you, because that's what I do. If I can do business with you, I'd love to too. Let's do business. Let's, buy something from me, buy something from you, whatever. Let's do business. But more importantly, I like to cheer for you. I'd like you to cheer for me. I'd like to cheer for myself. And so I'm going to go back and write some more copy. It's nice when my wrist gets tired. I got funky wrist. When my wrist gets tired, I take a break now. And this is what I'm going to do every day. So hopefully some of this does a little something for you. Stare it in the face. Stare it down. Look at it. Tackle it. But don't resist it. And that's what I'm learning, I guess, now is I used to resist. I used to fight. Everything was a fight. I had to armor up. I was going into battle. Now I'm going in for hugs. So Going to be doing them a lot. And if you ever have something you want me to open up a can of worms about, let me know. I'll see you guys later.